He's had flashes of violence. He put our baby in danger.
So I'm afraid we can't handle his level of trauma.
You promised me you wouldn't separate me and Dexter.
I'm sorry.
But you did.
And while you were being raised by the Morgan family, I only had the memory of a family.
Dexter Original Sin, Episode 9, Blood Drive. I thought it was easily the best episode of the prequel to date, and everything is coming together nicely to set the stage for the season finale. The most interesting thing about the Spencer Big Bad story is that this is the first time Dexter moved ahead on a target without Harry's blessing. All of Dexter's targeted victims to date, his very first victim where he popped his cherry with Nurse Mary, the 2-bit loan shark Tony Ferrer, the supposedly retired hitman Mad Dog, and Levi Reed, the home invader murderer who even killed children. In all of those situations, Dexter explicitly received Harry's stamp of approval. Not here. Harry wouldn't hear of the idea that a good stand-up cop like Spencer could ever become a monster, but Dexter knew better, and indeed had already put the key pieces of the puzzle together. When Dexter investigates Spencer's bachelor pad, Spencer returns home and Harry is with him. Dexter escapes mostly undetected, with Spencer none the wiser of his break-in. Dexter is none too subtle when he draws blood from Spencer and tries testing his metal, and Spencer is again none the wiser to the idea that Dexter is onto him. Dexter lures him to the arcade with a fake blackmail letter, and Dexter is nearly bested by Spencer. No thanks to the 2 pints of blood he gave, one to help protect Sanders' HIV secret, and the other under orders from Masuka. Never give 2 pints of blood on stalk and kill day. When Dexter eventually breaks Spencer and gets him to admit that this was all an act of revenge against his ex-wife, Dexter learns a valuable lesson he will carry with him throughout the rest of his long and illustrious career as a serial killer. That under the right circumstances, anyone can become a monster. The death of Jimmy Powell had a profound impact on Dexter, where even as a self-admitted monster, the idea of killing children represented a new level of monster. So after serving an eye for an eye justice, or in this case, a finger for a finger, Dexter intentionally allows Spencer the wiggle room to escape, in hopes that Spencer will lead him to Nikki. My best guess here is that this will represent the final steps of Dexter's evolution, where he completes the transition from fledgling serial killer into the final product, the one and only Bay Harbor Butcher, which, if I am correct, will see Dexter dumping his very first body overboard. I likewise believe he will have another moment with Nikki, where the two have an unspoken agreement that Dexter's involvement in saving him remains their secret, perhaps even a secret that Harry himself is never quite sure about. Maybe it will even end with Dexter being promoted and buying his first boat. But the most interesting stuff going on right now involves the new key pieces of previously unknown information. All season long, Harry was the one and only character regularly getting new key pieces of information. We learn of his first son drowning as a result of his own negligence. We learn about his affair with his CI Laura Moser, where we previously learned the broad strokes, but we got the new key detail that Harry knew her children well. Bonding with Dexter, where he was a bit more cold and distant with that oddball Brian. While all of this was going on, his wife Doris eventually became pregnant after a couple of years, eventually giving birth to Deb. Blood Drive gives us a strong dose of new information, and while the broad strokes of Laura's murder remain the same, there was still a big payoff, where Harry's past with Brian has come to life, rich with new information, which takes place in both the regular prequel timeline and also Harry's flashback sequences within the greater flashback. The episode began with the triumphant return of Brian Moser. Brian is playing bingo with a woman named Barb, but all of what's happening here is firmly rooted in the past. Harry confesses his affair, noting that he compromised the Estrada ordeal and that Laura and her children were missing. Harry gets reprimanded but is allowed to be part of the search team, who arduously search for signs of life within the great abundance of shipping containers. After a couple of days, they hit the sweet spot, and a horrified Harry marches in for the rescue and picks young Dexter up, while poor Brian is left all alone sitting in a big pool of blood. Poor Brian. Fortunately, Bobby runs up and grabs him as Harry callously left him in the bloody dust with the severed head and scattered remains of his beloved mother. The visual of Harry dismissing Brian in favor of Dexter symbolizes his entire relationship with the two children. The social worker happens to be the very same Barb we see playing bingo with future Brian. She expresses her desire to keep the siblings together. Harry confirms to Doris that they are the children of the now murdered woman he was having an affair with. Doris immediately warms up to the idea that the kids need a mother, and like Harry, she quickly bonds with Dexter. Things take a turn for the worse when Brian tries to kill infant Deb, which leaves Doris absolutely horrified. Kind of funny realizing that more than a couple of decades later, Brian and Deb would be engaged to be married. When Harry tries to have a talk with Brian and tells him to take it easy, Brian schools Harry in a fit of rage. So Brian gets sent off to the mental facility, and that was that. Welcome to the family, Dexter. We love you like one of us. And see you later, Brian, you weirdo chump. Don't let the door hit you on your way out. Great Scott, this is heavy. Back in the future, Brian is Barb's lucky charm at the bingo table. When Brian eventually wins a bingo, he offers to take Barb to Applebee's, which she accepts as a worthy consolation prize. Barb is a bit put off, however, when she gets a good look at Brian's Chester the Molester van. She learns this is the boy she promised she would never separate from brother, and he gladly shreds her apart with a chainsaw and a smile. We know from the original Dexter that Brian resented the Morgan family. And with the new information, we see that Brian's obsession to reunite with Dexter had far deeper roots than we realized, providing him more motivation to have it in for nutjob Harry. We know Brian Moser killed Dexter's biological dad, Joe Driscoll. We know Brian likewise wanted to eliminate Deb, and he actually wanted Dexter himself to do the deed. Knowing now that Harry always dismissed Brian in favor of quality time with Dexter, Brian's knowledge that Harry had an affair with his mother, and suffering the horror of witnessing his mother get torn apart by a chainsaw, he has plenty of reason to dislike Harry. Further, knowing that Harry rejected Brian while embracing Dexter, Brian's primary goal might be reuniting with Dexter, but the demise of Harry overlaps here. It really does feel like we are headed toward a situation where Brian murders Harry in what was later believed to be a suicide because of Brian utilizing Dexter-like tactics and precision to cover his murderous tracks. After breaking it off with Gio, Deb falls in love with the police station. Seeing Tanya and LaGuerta provides her a new perspective on women having powerful roles in law enforcement. Ironically, behind the scenes, Camilla is likewise proving to be a powerful player. A bit more beneath the surface, but she's been doing her part to help keep Harry's dirty little secrets safe. Indeed, the return of Brian Moser also has had a profound impact on Harry. Harry lies to LaGuerta with a half-truth, and Camilla's maneuvering appears to have thrown her off the scent. Harry then lies to Dexter about the NHI case, dismissing the idea it's a serial killer, and Dexter takes note and offense to Harry's lie, which is ironic considering Dexter isn't exactly always forthcoming with Harry. We likewise learn that Bobby is one of the few people in the world who knows the whole story about Harry's involvement with Laura Moser, Dexter Moser, and Brian Moser too. Vogel might be nowhere to be seen, but Bobby seems to be in the know and on Harry's side about protecting Dexter. And Bobby seems to be aware of some of the darker details involving Brian's past, not unlike Camilla. Nutjob Harry fears tackling Brian head on, even knowing he's the NHI killer and knowing he's stalking Dexter, because Harry doesn't want his entire operation falling apart. So seeing how Harry attempts to handle the Brian Moser situation is of great interest. I suspect the Spencer story is wrapping up, where Dexter will complete his Bay Harbor Butcher evolution. But the conflict between Harry Morgan and Brian Moser remains the most interesting storyline in the prequel, where I think that could easily carry over for a worthy second season of Dexter Original Sin. While I do feel like it might be headed toward new information regarding Harry's death, that still feels like it's a good way off, as there has been no mention of Juan Reynes, and that was the kill where Harry walked in on Dexter and became disgusted, where Matthew's suicide theory left Dexter believing that exposing his darkest side led to Harry taking his own life. Whatever happens, I have been mighty impressed by Dexter Original Sin, which has far exceeded my expectations, and I cannot wait to see the finale. What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night.
A little bird with a broken wing. First cop on the scene, Harry Morgan. He wanted to make you all better.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
See it in his eyes. All he saw was a fucked up kid.
We know that the state doesn't want to split siblings, but
He killed himself, Dexter.
What's wrong? Are you okay?
Just stay away. Please. Stay away.
Damn it, Dexter. There are consequences to everything you do in life. Lose control, become powerless, and it's over.
Harry teach you that?
He taught me a code. I killed my father.
You don't have a code. Harry did. And he's been dead 10 years.
no more dating older guys, ever. You understand?
The heart wants what the heart wants, Dad. But I'll do my best.
You know, considering our age difference, you're not too old to spank.
No, stop, please. I can't control myself. Oh my God!